From the dark and harrowing Elden Ring and the badass Doom to the fun and chaotic Cuphead, boss music has always played a really important part in the narrative and the feel of video games. And so with so many out there, it's kind of hard to pick a favorite. But I think I've come close with this music from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate World of Light. It's called Battle Against Light, hence the name. It does sound super bright for a boss theme. And I just want to go into why I think this is such a great boss theme, so let's have a listen. Alright, so it starts out kind of sounding like it's in B minor, but it definitely finds home in E minor at first, so maybe it's in B minor and then switches to E minor. Okay, so yeah, it does land in that B, and then you hit the C, which sounds off with the B, and then... So now we're in E minor. Throughout, you'll hear a lot of these mostly brass repetitions that are like... Which I can't really do. I'm not the best at really fast fingering on the piano, but... You get the idea. It definitely adds a lot of intensity rather than just holding the note to actually do the repetition to reinforce that note. Notice the time signature that sounds like a 4/4, but you have these 8-note triplets with the snare. Notice the time signature sounds like we're in 4/4, but the snare is hitting these 8th note triplets, so they're kind of like offbeat, and it gives the feeling, it supports the feeling of uncertainty, and you don't really know where it's going to land, and I think that's perfectly scored with a difficult boss because, well, you never really know where the boss is going to land its attacks and stuff like that. I've noticed a lot of boss themes like to use that so that you can't just count 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's a little bit off with the timing. So now we have this phrase, but it's not exactly, so here would be the normal in A minor, because it really sounds like we're in A minor now. You would expect to hear, but instead they do the same movement on the scale, but they start at B instead of C, which sounds like, it almost sounds like a lingering question that's being unanswered almost. You know, it's just like kind of sitting there and, you know, it doesn't feel right. And then it brings us to the next section. Okay, before we get to the build-up. So this section almost sounds like nostalgic or tragic. So the movement goes... So that F, G, A minor, add 9, and then D minor, C, B, E, which is sad or like nostalgic or something. It doesn't sound like the movement you'd hear in a boss fight. So then when it comes again, it's F, G, A minor, add 9, and then instead of the D minor, we go to C7. So why does this work? We have the D minor and then C to the F sharp minor and then B and then E. It sounds crazy. However, it's just a, all it is doing is key changing a major third up. So we're in C, and then you have this D minor, which is 2 minor, building up to 1/3, which is very easy transition. And then we go another whole step. So D minor to C, the bass is moving up whole steps. So then F sharp minor. Okay, but where do we get the B? So this F sharp minor actually plays as our 2 minor, and that's a 2/5, which wants to land on 1. 2/5/1 is a very, very common resolution movement. You've probably heard that before in songs. So since it's such a common resolution, the ears can pick up on it, and you can pretty much change a key just by throwing that 2 minor in the next key, then 5, and then you're 1. And it doesn't work all the time. You do need to use it sparingly and know when you can use it. So we get to this beautiful cello part. Okay, before we get to that part, I just want to talk a little bit about sadness in boss music. So a lot of boss themes, especially final boss themes, you'll hear like sad sections in the song. And I think it's so powerful because imagine you're fighting a world-ending boss. There's going to be a lot of adrenaline while you're fighting, right? But there's also the emotion, the reminder of what's at stake. And also the reminder of the journey that led you here. You're in the battle that it all comes down to whether everything was worth it or not. And so there's that nostalgic, tragic feeling that, you know, this could be the end, or it could be the beginning of something new, or, you know, there's a lot of stakes involved. And I think when you throw in some sections that almost feel sad, it strikes emotion and not just adrenaline while the player is fighting. And maybe it even captures maybe what the main character might be feeling. So here's what the cello does. A minor, and then it has A to C to B, and the A is still a pedal tone. A, C, B, B up an octave, and then that's G sharp, and then up G sharp octave, and then E to C. Here all together. Then we're in F to A sharp, and then I think we're in E again. And it all lands on a D augmented with E in the bass. And then we get into probably the most energetic section. Okay, think of that as a boost of adrenaline. And here with the cello section again, it's almost like we're taking our breath, right? But then you have to give it everything you've got left, and that's with... And then right there, it loops back into the song. So yeah, I love how it comes down with the main light theme with the low string. So it's... and then builds up again to all of the crashing instruments. So yeah, I see that super energetic part. You almost think, okay, I have a chance to win. Then when it goes back to the low strings, that's like you need to have a moment to take your breath, and maybe, it could be the scene with the villain on one side and the hero on one side, and they're both kind of catching their breath, and they start approaching each other. And then that part with the crashing instruments could be, just giving it your all, giving everything you've got into the fight. And then it loops again because, well, this is a boss fight. Some people may take 3 minutes and other people might defeat it in 8 minutes. And so you never know how long it should go. This is why I think this boss theme works so well. It's because it's the contrast between emotion and adrenaline. It takes moments to breathe, but it also like throws everything it's got into this and makes you feel like there's no real place to land except for those breathing parts. And I don't know, it kind of feels like, just listening to it, I feel like I'm fighting a boss. I don't know if I'm the only one with this one. And it also mixes in the two feelings of I'm winning a fight versus I'm losing a fight. And in a game, you can't necessarily tell if the player is winning or losing. And you don't want it to be obvious whether you're winning or losing in this type of game. And so suggesting it with sadness and almost dread, it helps you feel like it's uncertain. And a boss fight should be uncertain, or then it would be an easy boss fight that you're going to win. And another thing that maybe you should check out is there's a song called Battle Against Light and Dark. It's like a sister track to this one, and it's comparable. It really is. Maybe I can talk about that one too. Let me know. But yeah, I really love this track, and it might be my favorite boss fight music. I don't know, because there's a lot of good ones. You know what? List some of your favorite boss fight music in the comments. Maybe I will even talk about it in a video. I'm going to name my favorites in the comments below, so just join me. So I hope you like this analysis on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate World of Light Battle Against Light. That's a lot of words. And I'll look forward to seeing you again in the next video in 2 weeks. So see you then. Thanks for dropping by. I almost forgot to say.